Welcome, and this is how to make realistic water drops using Photoshop and Photoshop brushes. This is just a photo that we're going to use. Now often you see people have done this and it looks something like this over here, but it's all the same droplet, just copy pasted, moved around, sandwiched together, several, moved them around. It looks nice, it's cool, but it's not realistic. So we're going for more realism. So first you find a good picture of some droplets, and let's make it grayscale. Choose hue saturation and desaturate all the way. That way we can see what we're doing. And brushes only work in black and white. Let me find a good droplet. This one looks good. This one seems like your good droplet. Now it's so pixelated. I'm gonna make this a little bigger. Let's go 3000. Okay, I think I was looking at this one here. They're almost the same. It's got a little bit more texture in it, so let's go for this one. I'm just going to lasso it, copy it. I hold Control Shift C, so I'm copying from all layers just to be on the safe side. I have a document prepared here. Let's put it in. I'm actually going to reshape it. If you don't know how I did that, just Control T. I just dragged it down. Let's go warp. Warp it a little. Alright, it looks good. So now let's make this background disappear so we can see what we're doing. We just want to select this, and there's a few different ways to do it. I like to use a simple way. Let me just grab a brush. You can use any brush. I'm going to turn off this density sensitivity and make this 100%. And then you go into this quick mask mode and just paint the section you want to copy. I find this just easier for most things. And then where I went over, I could just hit X to switch to white and go back in. Do it again to get those little bits. That's good enough for this. So click back here to make it back into a selection. Let's select the background by hitting Control Shift I, delete. There we go. There's our water droplet. Now, and let's make a brush. So I click in the center, hold Alt and Shift to make a square around it. Boom. Edit, define brush set, and this is going to be video drop. Okay. Now for purists who don't want to just use photos, but you're doing a digital painting, a digital illustration, you want to draw everything, so just why not draw your own? Just, you know, go in. Let's put this down to 50% for a little. It doesn't have to be that perfect, just same general idea. Go back up. I'm just going to get the shape first. Some general colors. Working fast and furious here. Alright, now let's go 50% and blend it a little bit. I think I made the same one. Could have invented one a little more. once you get the idea, you can do different shapes. So let's do that a little. Let's make this one a little like it's got a tail on it going up a bit. And the brush can only make black. It doesn't make white. It doesn't register it. So that becomes a little bit of an issue. Alright, and I could mix this more, make it a little nicer. Just let's make it just passable. I need to get all artistic with it. We're just going to test this one out and see how it works. Now, I didn't do it for the first one. Let's put this guy in his own layer. Control C, oops, Control C, X, I hold Shift V to put it in the same place. Now, I'm going to select it, and I want to get rid of some of this excess with my eraser. And I also want to be sure of something, which is I need a little darkness all around the edges. Let's go back to my brush. I'm going to turn the sensitivity on because I want to go pretty soft. There just needs to be something there. In fact, it's kind of good to do a little bit of a drop shadow under it. So this will be my test custom droplet. Yeah, I can't help improving it a little, just a little more convincing, I guess. I could use mixer brushes and blending brushes, but it's not the point of the lesson. Alright, there it is. Gonna get the square, hold Alt and Shift, make a square around it. Let's get, there we go. Edit, define brush set, draw droplet. Alright, so I've got the two. Now I'll go to my image. This is just a street photo in Vietnam. The sky is white. That kind of works against me, but we'll try it anyways. Let's start off with the B, make sure I'm in brush with the draw droplet, and make sure this is black. I can hit D, and let's go 100%. Let's turn off this pressure sensitivity here. Let's make one. Made a bunch. That's just one. Now it doesn't look good now, but there's a lot of things to go. If you draw it, it's going to do this. So you go in here, oops, wrong one, brush tip shape, move around the spacing so they're not together. Now if you draw, you'll get a bunch of them. And then let's also do the shape dynamics and pen pressure. This is going to give me smaller if I press softly. If I press larger, press harder, you're going to get larger. Alright, now let's change them a little. Go to scattering. Before we do that, back in shape dynamics, angle jitter. We might just want a little. You can see here it will move. If you move too much, it's not, your drops are going up, doesn't make sense. I just use this slightly. The roundness jitter, you can see it's almost like they're coming at you. That's not really something I want, but maybe a little variation in shape. Now scattering is going to move them around, so it's moving around quite a lot. And let's see how that works. Okay, now we can get drops everywhere. So before we continue, let me delete that. I want to make the page bigger, the document size. So let's go about like this. You'll see why later. Now, we're back here again, and let's start making the drops. So it's really fast. Make some little ones. And go into this extra area off the page, outside the photo. Let's get some bigger ones. Oops. And I made some other ones. If you're just using one drop, it'll work, but why not use more? Let's go with, oh, let's try our video drop I made. Got to do the same thing. Go in here, move this out. Let's put on the scattering. Seems pretty good. So we got two different drops. Bunch of little ones. And I also made a long droplet. Going to have to move out the spacing, shape dynamics and scattering on, and let's put some of these in there. Oh, it seems too big. Now, if I'm doing smaller drops, it's a good idea to do them under the big drops, so if they overlap, you don't see it. Alright, bunch of these little guys in there. And I also made a rivulet, which wasn't working as well as I wanted. I'm not sure why. Let's move the spacing out. And put a couple of those in there too. Let's get a big one. Alright, and let's put some more of the video drops. Oh, let's use one of my regular drops. Droplet 2 is probably good. Okay. Nope. More scattering, more spacing. Wanted to get some outside. Don't like the angle it's at. So I can go in here and change the angle so it's more vertical if you didn't see that. Alright. More small ones. You can turn off the image so you can see a little more clearly. Alright, that's enough. Now, here comes a really important part. When you look at these, there's only black, because the brush only does black. There's no white. So when I put it over the image, it only gets darker, which is why it doesn't look that good. It doesn't get lighter. And the way around that is to make a new layer, fill it with white, and you've got to select your drops. Let's see. Since I have these on two separate layers, I can move them around a little bit. Some areas are a little crazy, like this area. I think I'm going to take that out. Alright, good enough. I'm going to go ahead and merge these two. Now, I want to select the droplets, but if I hit Control to select them, look what it does. It only selects parts of them. So you don't want to do it that way. You want to use the selection brush here, the magic wand, and make sure it's on contiguous. If it's not on contiguous, it might still work, but see there's gaps there. But on contiguous, it only goes on the outside. So there you have your drops. So I'm going to copy them, Control Shift C, because I want to get the white, and paste. Now if I move the layers, you can see, oops, how to get the color in there? What have I done? Let's undo that. How did that happen? Let's try this again. Here I contemplate how I am doing that. Let's try this one more time. Oh, I see. And C, P. Okay, there we go. Mysterious. Now you have all the drops over the picture, but it still doesn't look right. Now, one of the problems is that when I copied this way, it created a halo effect. So we're just gonna see what we're doing here. Go to Select, Modify. Before I do this, I want to make sure. Okay. You can look at the edge to see if you're selecting the outside, the background, or the droplets. So push I, the marching ants disappear. So let's see. So I want to change my selection, modify, contract. Let's go 2 pixels. I guess that's looks pretty good, and we can put a mask on it just to test it out. It seems good enough. Now it's a little choppy, but that doesn't really matter, and later we're going to blur it a little bit anyways. Okay, now it's looking better, but the colors are black and white over a color image. So let's change this to luminosity mode, and now you can see, oops, that color is coming through. So it should already be looking pretty good. And I'm gonna bring it in so we're not looking at that outside part. I can see what I'm doing better now, but I'm not going to delete cropped pixels, so deselect this up at the top. Okay, now it actually looks pretty good. Looks good in luminosity mode. Okay, the one thing I might change as a next step is I'm going to add a gradient mask, gradient map. Okay, changes everything to black. Hold Alt and click between these 2 layers. Now the mask will only apply to the raindrops. You can see it's reversed, it's inverted. It's going white to black. We want black to white. And now, instead of black to white, we can use colors. Now you have to make sure you're on, on the gradient and not the mask for it. Otherwise you can't select colors. So select this, and we can go here, and our darkest color, it's currently black, but we can choose any color we like. You can just click around. Ooh, I actually think that looks pretty good. It's just more black, but you can get a color, and then you might want to make it a little more saturated. Now that actually looks alright. Now let's go for the lightest color. Again, you can just click around. You really want this quite light, so let's just go and put a little color in there. Now you can adjust here how much of the brighter color you want, where it falls off. The same thing with the darker color. So I might go a little darker, and let's go a little lighter as well. I can add a middle, I can move the middle, by the way, here, and decide where that goes. So this is a good step. It might be different for each image. I'll leave it there. If you click under, but not on this diamond, you get a new one. Ew, interesting. And then you can choose a color for that in the middle. Try some different things. That doesn't work. You can use a different color. Red. Actually orange. Not really working for me. That looks alright. I like, how about the blue? Deeper blue? Okay, that's making it look a little more translucent. Let's see if I can actually see a difference. Yes. Alright. It's looking good. Let's copy this layer by hitting Control J, because I want to blur it a little. And before I blur it, I want to make it into a smart object. Zoom in. So it's kind of pixelated. That doesn't look... I could have cleaned that up on my original. That's on my drawn one. And... ooh, I forgot a stage. I'm going to delete that layer. While we still have this one, I'm going to go ahead and apply the mask, apply layer mask, and let's change some of the drops. So you go into Control-Shift-X, this, what is this tool called? I can't recall at the moment. Liquify. I come in and just use the first finger tool. You can just, you know, change some of them a little bit so they don't all match. Put little tails on them. With these guys, we can make some long. This tool is the bloat tool, so you can give them a bead on the end and blow up some of these. Yeah, you don't have to do it accurately either, because you want the drops to be different. The spin tool will move them, and it's good to like bend these in the middle. You'll even rotate them, or you can just do half to make them a different shape. Okay, I see a lot of these. I'm going to move these. If you hold Alt, it'll go in the other direction. Okay, this video is getting a little long, so let's just say that's good enough. Alright. There you go. And the last thing I'd like to do, let's make a new layer again so I don't destroy it. Change it to Smart Object. Now I can do a filter, and I can adjust the filter later. So I'm going to do a motion blur, going vertically a little bit. Alright. It's more noticeable if you zoom in. I really should have fixed this drop, but this is just an example. It's not, you know, big portfolio piece or something. And there you go, it looks good. Now you can move this around. Since we made it bigger, the canvas bigger than the picture, you can try different compositions, see what looks good. I like that. That looks good. Now I had some other backgrounds loaded up. You can try out. Here's in... oh, didn't have a gradient. Oh, let's reapply it. That had come off. Okay. When you go to a different one, the gradient was customized, so it may not look as good with that one, but actually looks alright. So you can use it on a different image. Of course, you can move it around. There's another one. Oh, it's raining in, I believe that is Chengdu in China. And there's another one. But you customize it a little to the images. This looks best with the Vietnam photo. And there you have it. I almost forgot the real key element here, and that is to blur the background image. So first, it's already a smart object, so filter, blur, Gaussian blur, and then the drops come much more forward. It's more persuasive. Looks good. I can control how much after the fact. So let's say I want to see the image. Okay. I think that's let's go about here. Still can tell you're in Vietnam, or looks like Cambodia too. Now, because I did this with a smart object, I can go and I can change this at any point. So I just want the perfect balance. That looks really good. So without the filter, it looked like that. With the filter, it looks like this. Let's give it a little more. All right. Nope, not that much. It's doing this thing around the edges that I don't like, but I can crop it out. And let's do this one too. Filter, Gaussian blur. Looks good. Let's do a little more. There. Now that's all beautiful. And this one. Yep. Looks. Oops, that wasn't a smart. See, that one, it wasn't a smart object, so I can't go back and change it. So let's undo it. Right click, convert to smart object, filter, Gaussian blur. And now it's here. I can change it. That's the mask. And let's see, a little less. Yeah, that looks good. Oh, it's such a cloudy day in Chengdu. And let's do one more, and I want to try something else. Convert to smart object. And the gradient mask is working for this as well, but I could change it. So we're going to do the Gaussian blur. Really, let's just make, okay, make this a little bigger so that doesn't happen. Still happens a bit. With the raindrops, to get a different pattern other than just moving them around, you could also just, let's put them in a folder, duplicate it, and then we can just move those over here, even have a little overlap or a lot of overlap if we wanted to. Could work, but I'll just, to get a different composition, here we go. Let's see, about there, I guess. Okay, and that's it. Now you know how to make these raindrops, and I think they look great.